you can turn a date or a mate into a sexual soulmate. If you know the 6 essentials to connected sex. I'm 62, and you know I'm having the best sex of my life. This is like the Rosetta Stone to having the best sex right here. The number one sex skill to learn is
if the sex is great, people will be willing to tolerate a lot of uncomfortable relationship issues. So why does great sex put blinders on us, which can then lead us to choosing the wrong person?
So a lot of times what I teach people is the platinum rule, which is treat your partner the way they want to be treated and teach them how to treat you the way you want to be treated. And when you're really comfortable with what your relationship values are and you can communicate them to a partner, then they can get up every day and focus on the things that you need from them, and you can do the same for them. So the golden rule is treat someone the way you want to be treated, but it doesn't work in relationship. So once you have this platinum rule, you know what your values are, what their values are, and what it takes to make them feel the feelings they want to feel in a relationship with you, then no matter how good or how bad the sex is, you know whether you're in a relationship that's worth fixing or not. It takes time to get good in bed together. You know, procreation is easy. It's very simple to make a baby, but great sex, great satisfying lovemaking that fuels you, that makes you feel confident and empowered, where you really are attracted to that person. Man, I think most women are looking for that for a long time with a guy. So when they can get the lineup of the values match, like this guy's willing to give me what I need to be in relationship with them, and the sex is great, that's fabulous. That's what you're going for.
Yeah. All right, well, let's flip it on its head then. What if you're with somebody and the sex is really boring?
Yeah.
And I think sometimes people mistake the boring for not having the chemistry, for not being compatible.
Well, one of the things that I immediately think about is how the birth control pill, tends to make our pheromone and chemistry sensing systems go awry. And we often end up with someone that actually isn't someone we have chemistry with. So that's a red flag for me. I always watch out for that with women. Just like be aware that it could make your sensing systems go awry. But the second piece of it is you can turn a date or a mate into a sexual soulmate if you know that what I call the 6 essentials to connected sex. So I think that generally, if you start off with someone where the sex isn't that great, but you give it a chance and you learn some of these skills, and that person is willing to learn and grow with you, then the sex can keep getting better and better and better. So if you've got an initial attraction, and then it doesn't, it kind of takes a dip, like, oh, well, that could have been better. Give it another chance if you think they are also a values match, because sex is all a series of learned skills that gets better our whole life long if we put our attention on it and have intention to grow and to become a more mature sexual being.
You saying sex is a skill, I love. It's so empowering.
Yeah.
But now I think about how many people don't actually end up together because they don't realize it's a skill.
Yeah.
That they're like, oh, well, they're bad in bed.
Yeah.
And so they just move on. And now maybe their soulmate, as you put it, they've actually turned down because that one night that they had in the bedroom actually wasn't as fiery as they'd hoped.
I think the very first thing for women is to learn to speak for our body's desires. I always say it's like, these lips can't talk, but these can. And so a lot of women say to me, I don't know what I want. I just know what I'm getting isn't it. And even if I knew and I told him, he'd be like, you don't have to tell me. I know what I'm doing. That overconfidence thing again, like in a man's world especially, they live in a pecking order. Dudes are either up or they're down, and they don't like to lose, and they hate rejection, and they hate doing things wrong. What does a man want, especially in the bedroom? He wants to be your hero. He wants to give you incredible pleasure. He wants to win. He wants to do things right. He wants to be our champion. I think the number one sex skill to learn is how to understand your needs, to really listen inside yourself. There's a great word that I like. It's called interoception. And interoception means feeling in your body. Like, I have had this bacterial infection I picked up in London, probably from all the pub food I ate. And I can feel it. And every day I know whether it's getting better or worse. And it was getting worse recently. And I was like, oh, I got to get on this and get back on this because it's starting to sprout up again. I can feel that in my body. So we're used to being able to feel and sense in our body. We can begin to feel and sense into our genital system and what's pleasurable, what kind of touch we're looking for, all of these kinds of things. And then when we begin to speak those to a partner, then, and they understand that they didn't do anything wrong, that women are different every single day and every single moment, much different than men are. Men are much more steady state. And women are much more flowing because we're women who run with the moon. We're on a moon cycle. Even after menopause, we still are moon cyclers. And so what we want, I like to say, sometimes you're a kitty cat and you just want to be held and you just want to be stroked and you just want to purr. And other times you're like, you're like a pouncy little lioness, And so you're different in every moment. How could any partner ever know what you want in any moment? Oh, that's too hard. Oh, that's too soft. Oh, it's hurting me right there. You're on my hair, whatever it is. And when you can get a partner who's like, tell me more. Thanks, babe. How is it now? When you train them, and I do use the word train with our partners, you are always training people about how to treat you, whether you're doing it explicitly or implicitly. And when you do it explicitly and you are verbalizing your needs and you do it in a way that your partner realizes that it's not failure, it's just good feedback they can use to win, then that really starts the ability to have the communication, to learn each other's bodies, to learn what kind of pleasure we like, to know where our sensitive spots are, because we are worried all the time that what we want is not right or we shouldn't ask for it. We're just so stuck in our be a good girl part of our culture that I just want to break the barriers down around that by us honoring what our body is asking us for in every moment. And let me project that out into the future for you. Once you get really good and comfortable at feeling your feelings, both physical and emotional, and expressing them, feeling the confidence to express anything and everything, then you start to be so confident around that you start to have more great experiences. And when you have those great experiences, that gives you more confidence. And then when you have that, you start thinking up stuff you want to do. And then your lover gets to be with you and you're like, do you know what sounds fun? And they're like, what? Because you're always coming up with these incredible ideas. You've always got these I was thinking we could try this thing. And your partner's like, let's try it. And that in and of itself, just that idea of moving from feeling comfortable asking to coming up with ideas for the things that you want, that makes you a really fun person in the bedroom, somebody that wants to be with you, and they win and they have a great time, and so do you.
I grew up thinking that sex was to procreate, first of all, and then to please the man.
Yeah.
I did. Yeah. I grew up like that, which is why these interviews are so important to me. And everything you're talking about feels so liberating. It feels so freeing in order for me to go, what's important to me? Am I getting, turned on? And I wish I'd learned that lesson a long time ago. And so anyone listening right now, I'd love to take them through the evolution of when you first meet someone, right? So we even spoke about on that first date, or either you have that fire or you've got the chemistry and then you go in the bedroom and it's like,
that's just, you gotta give yourselves a chance.
Yeah.
You gotta give a guy a chance or a person a chance. You've gotta learn your way with them. Here's an interesting thing about lovers. One of the things that I like to recommend, especially for young women, is to have a fair number of partners, but always use safe sex. Know how to talk about STIs, ask for them to be tested, know what tests to get. These are very important things to keep yourself safe, because the downstream effects of a lot of STIs cannot be solved with a little penicillin. There are lingering effects for things, so you do want to screen and be careful. And if a guy isn't going to get tested for you, or a person is not going to get tested for you, it's not a person you want to be with. If they can't put your safety first, then forget about it. But what's interesting is that when you have different lovers, and I know you've experienced this, you have different lovers and they're really good at certain things. They have skills or body dynamics that fit your body in a way that another lover doesn't. And so having more safe, pleasurable experiences that are consensual and honorable gives you a lot more skills to begin to understand what you like and what you like right now. Because as you mature, what you used to look at and go, no, I don't know, I'm not sure I would do that. Now you're like, oh, well, that's what I'm fantasizing about.
So what do you think? So you're saying, let me just make sure I understand.
Yeah.
You're saying have multiple partners,
yes,
so that you can experience.
If you want.
But that's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
What's the plus side to it?
Yeah.
And what would you say to people who are religious and they're holding themselves or waiting for marriage?
Yeah. You know, the thing about your sexuality is that it's not just sex is over here and my life is over here. Sex is underneath. It's the furnace. It's the fire inside you. Your sexual vitality and your lust for life are the same thing. I want to encourage them to move forward and do what's right for them. And if staying in their situation is their choice, that's fine. But if they want to go out and experiment and have more experiences, then I want to teach them how to do that safely so that they always feel like it was a win and it fueled them. Even the ones where it's like, well, that did not go as planned, but I learned something from it, right? So it doesn't always have to be perfect. It's silver lining sometimes, and that's fine too. That's just growth experiences.
Yeah. What about then in those moments, let's say in the early phases where, I don't know if you've heard this message with the red pill community right now, where they're all saying, like, they call it women's body count, how many people someone slept with.
Yeah.
And they say the higher body count, the less value they have.
First of all, who you make love with is your own business. And you are a sovereign being. And you get to decide what your body likes and wants and who you want to give it to and how you want to give it to them and what your boundaries are around that. I'll give you an example. This is something that I often tell people and there's two big clusters of women that generally need this information. One is young women who are in their early stages of their sexual maturation, and then women who've been in a long-term relationship that has not served them sexually, and they're back out and they want to have fun. And I recommend this thing that I call A and B level lovemaking. So again, going back to STIs, it's just like communication is the foundation of great sex. Testing and safety are the foundation of safe, healthy sex. And the more that you talk about safe sex and the more that you talk about your needs, the easier it gets. One of the things that I think I like to do the most in my job is give permission to people to have more of what they want. That is something that people often need. And so when I say, I want to give you permission to go out and have multiple partners, and there's nothing wrong with that. If that's what you want, it's actually very good for you. And you can do it in the way that you do A level and B level relationships. A level is kissing is very safe and hand on body contact is very safe. But anytime there's mouths or genitals, genital to genital or mouth to genital contact, that's less safe, a lot less safe. So you can go out and have really fun times, incredibly sexy, wildly orgasmic experiences, just kissing and using your hands with a partner. And that's what I recommend whenever you're with someone new is don't just jump into bed with them. Don't think a condom is going to keep you safe either. There's so many things that are skin to skin contact. So knowing how to work your way through the world and say, I'd like to have a sensual, pleasurable evening with you. But here are my boundaries. This is what we're going to do. I can kiss you and I can put my hands on you and you can put your hands on me And I am willing to get naked as long as you know that it'll never go further than that in this time. Are you willing to honor my boundaries around this? I don't even want you to get near me with that thing that I'd have to even worry. Maybe you even need to keep your pants on or your underwear on, even if I take mine off until I decide you can take yours off. But that's my boundary. Are you willing and in agreement around that? I need to be unchallenged about that. And if they say yes, then you can pretty much guarantee they will. And if they say yes, and there's any hint, any whiff of them pushing a boundary that's uncomfortable for you, you always keep your clothes in one place. You always keep all your stuff in one place. You put it on and you leave. And that person is checked off the list because they are out of integrity.
Can I be honest?
Yeah.
As you were saying that, I was like, oh God, I don't know if I'd ever have the confidence or the guts to say it. And as I'm thinking it, as you're talking, and I'm like, hang on a minute, but I'd still sleep with them? Like, I wouldn't say the hard thing because I'm too embarrassed or I don't have the confidence. But yet I'm okay with stripping down naked and giving my body over to him. Like, as I was thinking it, I was like trying to like take the thought back. But I think so many people listening right now probably thought the same thing, where they're like, I can't say that to him. And I love that you gave the words, because I think also that's part of where sometimes people lose their confidence, where they start to like, well, can you, would you mind, maybe, possibly, right? But if you're just like, the way you just said it was so
straightforward,
direct, and respectful, which I really liked. It wasn't like, you can't come near me. It wasn't like, it was very... you weren't closing the door. And I think that that's the most beautiful thing, that you were able to do it in a way. So thank you for giving that language. So talk to me about the difference between being desired, having a libido, and arousal.
Yeah. I really came up with these distinctions a few years ago because, you know, a lot of people use those words very interchangeably. But I think in understanding ourselves and how much of our physiology, it's very important for women and for our partners to understand how different female arousal is to male arousal. So to get there, you have to understand libido and desire. So I like to think about them as a Venn diagram, 3 interlocking circles, and you're in the middle. Libido is really the body-based piece of it. Your libido is a reflection of your health. If your health is bad, of course your libido is going to be down. You'll know you're getting better when your libido starts to rise. And so that part of it is really understandable, and you can feel whether your libido is high or low, and you know where it's coming from.
I was going to say, what does that actually mean? Does it mean like you're thinking about sex? Does it mean that you're throbbing? Like, what does it actually mean?
It can be any of those things. It could be you're thinking about sex, you're reading erotica, you're desiring romance to kind of get things started. You might be solo pleasuring. You feel more turned on. You want to wear sexier clothing. You have a desire to dance or do yoga or other body-based movements that support your pleasure. You're more switched on to the beauty of things. You have a sensuality as a part of your life. The food tastes delicious. You slow down for beauty. These are all things that are a part of that just feeling sexy. So that's libido. Libido is your body. Desire is kind of the emotional game. It's both, how do I feel? Do I feel desirable? And I'll tell you something, this is where women often really struggle, because we have a core wound around self-worth that's endemic to our society. We don't feel lovable. We don't feel worthy. And those are deep core wounds that directly impact our feeling of how desirable we are. So if you don't feel desirable, you have to go back deep inside and really begin to analyze what that core wound is that's holding you back from feeling like you're desirable, because everybody is desirable. Every person is beautiful and desirable and wants to love and be loved. I say this a lot to older women who are like, I'm getting back out in the world. I'm 60, I'm 70. Will I ever find anybody? And I said, oh, darling, there are so many men waiting out there. If that's what they want as a man, there are so many men waiting out there to love you and to give you everything you want. Don't worry. they're out there. So that's desire. Desire is not only how do I feel about my own desirability, but how do I feel about my partner?
Mm.
Oh, did they let themselves go? Are they drinking too much? Are they having a midlife crisis around their career and they're grumpy? Are they having trouble with sleep? Are they showing up for you? Are they continuing to romance you? If they're not, you have to say, look, I am your person. And I see that you're not showing up as the man that I believe you can be. And here are some of the ways it's manifesting. And here are some of the things that I'd like you to do to change that. And here are some of the ways that I'd love for you to re-engage with me romantically so that we can begin again. When you lose desire for a partner that you used to have desire for, often what's wrong is that there's this kind of trust and safety, and then there's this novelty and variety. And they have to be in balance, because if it's too much trust and not enough variety, it's boring. And if it's the other way around, it's scary for most people. So that's where you'd go to your partner and say, these are some new things I'd like to try. This is some stuff that I want you to do to show up as the person I need to desire. And then arousal, I think this is, if I think there's anything that's tripping us gals up in our little lacy knickers, it's that we do not understand our female arousal patterns, because we've been having sex like men. And then we think there's something wrong with us and we think we're broken. And as one of my girlfriends, Anna Lindfors, says, she says, you're not broken, sex is. And it's because we've been having what I call patriarchal sex. We've been expecting that our bodies act like men's bodies instead of women's bodies. So I like to teach women, what does matriarchal sex look like? And I'll give you just a couple of those things.
Yeah, please.
Because when a woman hears this, she's like, oh, geez, I thought it was me. And I'm like, no, mama, it's all of us. The very first thing that you have to understand, and I did bring a silly little thing to show you.
Yeah,
May I?
yeah, let's show it.
Okay.
For anyone listening on audio, I'll give a bit of an explanation. It looks like a banana. I'm assuming it's not a banana.
It is a banana, and really, when you think about your male partner, he has a banana. It looks like a banana.
Yeah.
And when he's asleep at night, he has many times when that banana is sticking straight up. And then when he wakes up, it's sticking straight up too if he's healthy. And he gets these surges of testosterone, which give him the benefit of being very lusty. And he's ready to go. And his testosterone makes him single-minded. He's like goal-oriented. You know how when a guy's doing something and you try to tell them something and they're like, I can't, you got to tell me that later. I'm like, doing one thing.
Aunt Lisa has to focus. Yeah.
Doing one thing.
Yeah.
Women are like, one thing. If I could do one thing at a time, we women, we do a million things because we're estrogen dominant and we have to keep our eye on everything because we are the prey, not the predator. So we're like the wild horses that are going to skitter away. So we're not the cougar that's going after the horses. We're the little wild horses. So he's got all these incidents of seeing himself turned on. And he's got this extra bolus of testosterone, which is making him like all the time. And so when he makes love to you, he's like, okay, let's get some foreplay done so we can have intercourse. As a matter of fact, when people think about sex, they think about sex as being intercourse. Now, don't get me wrong, I love intercourse. I really do. It's really, I think, my favorite thing of all, but only by one little tiny bit above everything else. And once I learned how to have orgasms from intercourse, which I didn't learn until I was in my mid-40s. And I want to tell every woman who's never had it that all it is a learned skill. It's very easy to cross the gasm chasm. You're not broken at all. You've just never gotten what I'm about to tell you. And once you get that, you're going to be like, oh, Lord, I waited all this time to learn that. Thank you, Susan Bratton.
If you're working damn hard to kick ass and be unfreaking stoppable, there's one thing I know for a fact, that you need to actually show up confident and ready for anything. And that's sleep. That's why I want to introduce you to the secret to better sleep, Cozy Earth. Cozy Earth's luxury bedding products are crafted with temperature regulating technology, so you're not waking up covered in sweat and then shivering 10 minutes later. And they use super soft and breathable materials that literally feel like a cloud on your skin. skin. I'm officially obsessed. They are literally the softest sheets I've ever felt, and so I definitely would recommend giving Cozy Earth a try. Treat yourself right now to ultimate comfort with Cozy Earth bedding and make your sleep a priority so that you can actually show up every day with confidence and kick ass. Click the link below or head over to cozyearth.com and use the promo code LISA to save an exclusive 35% off right now. Upgrade your nights, transform your days with Cozy Earth.
So here's the thing about it is that if I looked at your man's equipment, half of it's sticking out and half of it goes in and down into his testicles. And if I opened up that whole banana's worth of tissue, there would be inside it erectile tissue.
Mm-hmm.
And if I could take it out of him and put it in you, it would look like a little teardrop. We have this would go right around our vaginal canal. We have the same amount of erectile tissue as our male-bodied partners, but it's buried treasure. Only at 5% of it pops out in the tip of our clitoral structure. But what happens is
the visual was very helpful, by the way.
I know, my silly little
I was like, now I get it.
Yes, my silly little Play-Doh. But it does help because it's like, oh, whoa, you mean I've got that whole thing in my vulva? Yes, you do. But the thing is that it's like in nooks and crannies. There are 3 erectile tissue structures in the penis, and there are 3 erectile tissue structures in the vulva. And this is super important. This is like the Rosetta Stone to having the best sex of your life right here. This is the moment. And that is that ours are the clitoral, urethral, and perineal spongy tissue.
Mm-hmm.
But they have little arms and little legs and little necks and little heads and little squishy sponges and little tubes.
Didn't you call it like an English muffin?
I called it an English muffin. It's like nooks and crannies. And your arousal works on blood flow. You have to get the blood from your brain and your heart and your glutes and all these places into your pelvic bowl. And it takes a while for it to seep into all our nooks and crannies. But once it does, it plumps up, just like our male-bodied partners. But it takes us 20 or 30 minutes, even when we're regularly making love. That's just how long it takes the female body to achieve a level of erection that the male body gets to in like a minute or two. They're ready to go. So they have this single-minded focus. They're driving toward intercourse, and often they're just a freight train past where we even are. First, we need relaxation and safety to surrender in the moment, get out of our head and into our body. And then we need the time to let down and let everything flow in. Sometimes we need to get things off our chest. We need to have a tear come to our eye. We need our saliva to run. That starts to lubricate all of our genital tissues. And as we do that, we're like, oh, I can relax and connect my heart with my partner, and I can let these things start to happen. For many couples, they're long done, and he's, having a sandwich or snoozing, and she's like, it wasn't really very good for me, but I guess I love him and I've got to do it. And I have 2 non-negotiables in my sex life for myself. One of them is that I will not let myself rush me into anything I'm not ready and fully aroused for. And sometimes I get a little impatient with myself. I'm like, come on, you old girl, you've done this plenty of time. Let's go. And I just wait. I'm like, you're not ready. Just wait till she gives you the go signal, right? The second thing that's a non-negotiable for me is that I don't do anything. I don't continue to do anything like have intercourse if I'm not enjoying it in the moment. Like sometimes you'll be having intercourse or oral pleasuring or kissing or anything, and you're thinking to yourself, I think I'm done with this right now. And sometimes we feel like we just have to keep going so our partner can take their pleasure. But I don't think so, because our partners can get their pleasure anytime they need. It's not our job to provide their release. It's our job to show up and be enthusiastic and to learn new things and to have a great sex life together. And that means honoring her. When we honor her, when we speak our voice to our partner and say, hey, I got to stop now. That was great. And thank you. I'm complete, or I'd like to do something else, or it's not feeling that great for me today, especially in midlife, as you start to have a slowdown of lubrication. You have sometimes you have estrogen diminishment, the tissues thin, etc. I'd like to talk about that later in the show because it's all can be reversed. Women do not need to suffer with any of these problems that keep them from having great sex till the day they die. Because I'm 62, and I'm having the best sex of my life. And part of it is the allowing myself and knowing that this is what the female body takes. And part of it is to just call it when it doesn't feel good. Hey, let's take a break. Let's have a sip of water. Let's just, chill for a second, and let's see if she wants to resume or comes up with a better idea.
I love that, Brayden. And so that's the libido part of it, with the honoring your libido, understanding the difference between men and women's libidos, and understanding it so that we can then act in accordance. I love that. And you just said, right, you're 62 and you're having the best sex of your life. I love that.
I really am.
When
It's
you
incredible.
first got married, because you've been married for over 30?
I've been married 30 years and together for 32.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
So at the beginning, was there sparks? Was there fireworks in your sexual relationship?
Very early on, the first few months, I knew he was the one for me. And I did like making love with him, but I never had orgasms. And I had sex with my husband for 12 years without ever having an orgasm from intercourse. And it made me not want to have sex with him. And that poor guy, Lisa, he turned himself inside out trying to figure out how to get me in the bedroom, And I just was like, I wanted great sex, but I just wasn't having it. And so we thought, well, we're great every other place in our relationship. We've got this beautiful little girl. I mean, why? We saw our friends all getting divorced around that time, right? We were in our late 30s, early 40s, and we saw them dropping like flies. And we knew it wasn't money because we were all Silicon Valley, go, go, go executive people. And we knew it was sex. And we thought, we're going to figure this out. And so we went to therapy, and that was helpful for some things. But we started going to sex workshops. Boy, did that take a lot of bravery. And that's what set me off on this career decades ago, was realizing that, oh my Lord, it is so easy to have great sex if somebody just tells you what to do. And I'm like, I'm going to do that.
Was it just then that you were relentless to try and find the answer? Because there's so many women that, thousands and millions, I hate to think.
Yeah.
But there really are where they don't do that. Yeah. They just think, oh,
it's them.
It's them. But plus, we've been together forever. What do you expect? The amount of people that say that. And so honestly, I'm always trying to think, even with this interview, I came in thinking, okay, how do you go from dating someone, sparks, the honeymoon phase, you can't keep your hands off each other, to then it feels like you blink, but I hear a lot of women say, then it just irritates me when he touches me. He wants sex and all I can think about is the dishes. And I go, what has happened? How have we gone from honeymoon phase, can't get your, keep your hands off me, to now I just don't want him to touch me. It's over. Maybe, we've got kids. We've been together for a long time. And then you just dismiss it and you think that's it.
Yeah.
You didn't do that. What is it that people are missing that they don't realize that you actually realized?
A couple of things. Number one, how easy it is to learn great sexual skills, that they're a lot of fun to learn when you begin as beginners together. That keeps the sexual spark alive when you're continuing to learn new things. And one of the things I always like to say that if sex were a brand, its tagline would be sex. There's always something more. It's it's the gift that keeps on giving. And one of the nice things about having great sex your whole life long is that it makes you look younger. It makes you healthier. And if there's person A that just gives up on their sex life, and that woman gave up on her sex life because the sex wasn't any good for her. If it was good for her, she'd have been continuing to do it. And guys come to me. So one of my programs I wrote is called Revive Her Drive. And it's a ninja little trick that I pull on them. And then they're like, you tricked me. Because they think they're going to fix her. And what I actually do is I fix them, and then she wants them again. because they're needy or they're glommy or they don't have enough skill, and and it's not their fault either because they don't understand how she is and lives in her woman's body. So when I teach them about arousal, when I teach them how to make her small offers that lead to more yeses for bigger things, which is the number one seduction trick in the world for a man is, look, she's way back there. You got to turn around and come back and get her. And you can't be like, do you want to have some sex? Because she's going to be like, I do not want to have sex. I had a million things going on. That's the last thing on my mind. And so he just makes this giant offer that you're a no to instead of, would you like a foot rub? Would you like a glass of Chardonnay and tell me about your day? Like, let's just get into my world. Come sit beside me. Let's get synchronized here, right? And then let's ride up the arousal ladder together. And really, one of the things that I love about men is that once they understand that, they're like, I can do that. Oh, do that for her. And I'm like, I know you will. And so it turns out it's not her drive that needs to be revived. It's always inside there waiting to be unleashed. It just needs the right combination of things. And a giant offer for intercourse ain't it. So let me give you like 20 or 30 other things she might like to have that'll get you there. And then here's a couple of skills that you need to understand. And here's how a woman's anatomy works. And just do these things and she'll be making dates with you for lovemaking.
So if she doesn't have the libido, you don't necessarily want it.
Yeah, you don't want, right. Women say to me, I want to want him, but I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's that conflict between you actually don't feel like it, but once you start to feel like it, it actually improves.
Yes. Well, it's actually just being willing to try and for him to slow down and for you to have patience with yourself and how long it takes for all the blood to flow into all the nooks and crannies. Do you know the word yoni?
I've heard you use it, but I've never heard it before. If you don't mind explaining what it is.
It's a really sweet word.
It's so funny. It's cute.
It is adorable. And the yoni, Y-O-N-I, is the tantric lovemaking word. It's a very honorable word, and it really signifies her entire urogenital system. So it's not just down to one part. It's not just her vagina or her clitoris or what have you. It's like all the parts, because you got to get all the parts in play. So I like to call that erectile function her yoner. And I think that's a sweet way to say it. And until she gets enough stimulation and blood flow, and that can come from the inside out and the outside in. So the inside out is kissing, body touching, words of adoration and encouragement, mood lighting, romance. These are things that get the juices literally flowing. Like, it's called get the juices flowing for a reason, because you literally have to get the yoner, and that takes your 20 minutes. And so when she gets that time, then she starts to go, oh, okay, this is feeling good. And when she's had enough time and stimulation externally, then all that tissue is so expanded that you could pretty much do anything to her and it's going to feel good. So if you think about it, if your yoni is small and tiny and there's no blood flow to it, it's just kind of like stuck. And when you get all that blood flowing in from the loving and the touching and the encouragement and the sensual play, and it gets nice and big and expanded, then it has more surface area. And it has this turgidity to it that's springy and feels nice to be touched. And it loves lots of kind of touch when it's like that. And when it's like that and it has that big surface area, it starts to send more signals to our biggest sex organ, our brain, which processes it as pleasurable. There's this study that I read recently. A nurse practitioner had 41 subjects who she touched in erogenous zones on her body: breasts, nipples, clitoral tip, introital sphincter, which is the opening to your vagina. It's a little round muscle, and the labia. And they were to report what they felt. And basically, if you read all the analysis and all the verbatims, it was a couple of different categories. It was, I feel pain. I feel shame. I feel numb. I don't feel anything. Or I feel pleasure. It's kind of those 4 categories, really. And so the thing is that you might feel pleasure in one little spot of your yoni right now, but that's because all the other parts haven't been activated. Once you get the blood flowing in, the time that you need for arousal, and you get the kind of loving touch that your body is craving, you activate all that tissue. And then you're sending massive amounts of signals to the brain that are like, this is pleasure, 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 pleasure. And then you start crossing that orgasm gap and you begin to be able to have the 20 different kinds of orgasms that the body can have. And this is what I like about thinking about your sex life as a part of your personal growth. And you get better and better your whole life long, just like anything else, just like learning to cook or master anything. That's all it is.
That's so powerful. But then what's the difference then between someone who maybe felt that fire and that passion and had everything that you said and knows it, and then it fizzles out to the point where you even said, right, you were 10 years, you were like living a platonic relationship with your husband.
Yeah.
So what is happening between that honeymoon phase and the platonic phase? And then from what you said, it's like, if you do all of these things, then you can have a beautiful sexual thriving relationship, which then can then absolutely impact your actual relationship with them, right? It brings you closer together. I think trust gets built. Just the kindness, the camaraderie, like the partnership that ends up building. How do we help people so that they don't get to the point like you were, where you lived 10 years of being platonic with your husband?
Well, I didn't know what I didn't know back then, but the answer to your question is simple. And it's essentially learning new things together. I said it earlier, and I'll say it again. The answer to the monotony of monogamy is variety, right? You even said there's this equation. It's like, yeah, you've got too much monotony and not enough variety. So one of the things that I did, I have written hundreds of sex techniques and bedroom communication skills. And I sat down one day and I said, okay, well, a technique is a great thing and a communication skill is a great thing. But what couples really want is what I like to call erotic play dates. I put together 48 erotic play dates for couples. Now, if you're single, there are many that you can do with solo pleasuring. But these erotic play dates, oftentimes couples are totally willing to do new things. They just don't know what to do. So I came up with these 48 ideas and I put them on a list. And I basically give them to people. It's called the Sex Life Bucket List. And you print out this PDF and it's got little places to mark each one of the 48 things. And you write A's for the things that you're like, well, I would really like to find my G-spot or whatever it is. And B's are, well, it's not for me, but if my partner would like to do it, I would totally be down with doing that for my partner or with my partner. And C's are, it's not for me right now. Because never say never. There's always more. That's sex. There's always something more. And you'll be like, now I want that. So then you have your A list and you just start making dates and saying, okay, well, what are we going to do on Thursday? Well, I'll bring home some Chinese food or we'll get, takeaway. And then let's learn this thing together. And then you begin it's teenage energy. It's new relationship energy that gets imbued in your relationship because you're just doing something and neither of you know what you're doing and you're laughing and you're having fun and you're trying something new and you're breaking out of the monotony of monogamy.
When I heard you have the sex bucket list, I was like, it's so genius.
Yeah.
And I love the ratings of it because it doesn't mean that you don't feel like you're trapped. You're communicating with your partner about whether you're willing to do it right now or not. Yeah. Having been married for 21 years and been with my husband for 23, like he can still make me orgasm like nobody's business. I mean, like insane.
Even better than ever, I hope.
Yes.
Good.
Now, here's one. I'm going to be very honest though, because I'm always very honest with my audience.
Yes, you are.
Because we've been married for so long, we know exactly how to turn each other on. We know exactly how to make each other orgasm.
Yes.
And so you almost cut out a lot of the experimental stuff because you know exactly what to do. And so in that, right now I don't have it, but I do worry after having researched a lot of you, right? Like your stuff is the boredom thing. Now I'm not bored at all because he knows exactly how to press my buttons. But where does that go then from knowing your other partner, knowing what turns them on, and then it becoming so monotonous that actually that's now becoming detrimental to your relationship?
So I like to think about, you know how I was talking about touching all these areas and it awakening new neural pathways to the brain so that you were getting, you know how there's like you've got that one pathway that's like a sure thing. The idea is that when you do orgasmic cross training, you do the thing that's working and then you add in a new thing and then you can just do the new thing. It expands your ability to have pleasure and sensation into whole new ways. So you might say to yourself, well, I'm interested in activating my G-spot. And then I'm interested in learning about female ejaculation. I'm interested in learning how to have orgasms from intercourse. I'm interested in learning how to have throatgasms. I mean, there's all kinds of interesting orgasmic experiences. So you could have an expanded orgasm practice. You could have a yoni and lingam massage practice. And all of these things are going to activate new neural pathways so that you become not only orgasmic, but multi-orgasmic. Then you become massively multi-orgasmic. Then you become orgasmic in many different ways of stimulation. You can add new techniques onto it, like, I don't know, erotic hypnosis, for example, or expanded orgasm. One of the things that is really fun is to understand that climax is not the male model for women. Again, this is the matriarchal versus patriarchal situation here, where patriarchal ejaculatory orgasms look like he goes, he has his moment, and then he needs a sandwich. So for the female body, and actually the male body can be trained to do it. We really have the same parts in different order. You've heard many sexperts say that, and it's true. That's what we've learned is orgasm, but it is not at all. There are orgasms that are those kinds of, one and done orgasms. And then there are multiple orgasms. And then there are extended orgasms. And extended orgasms are you get into that moment of climax and you just keep coming.
Yeah, buddy.
And they last a long time. You're coming and coming and coming. And, it's noisy and you're screaming and it's the most incredible experience. And boy, does your partner love it when you do that, right? But then there are expanded orgasms, and expanded orgasms are the next level beyond that. I sometimes call them the quantum orgasm, because not only do you go up, now this is arousal again. This is like, okay, there's a liftoff takes a lot of work. That's the 20 minutes of focused energy for relaxation and pleasuring. But once you get that liftoff, you're like a big wave rider where you get up into orgasm and you start to have more orgasms and they last longer and they feel better and they just keep getting more and more incredible. Put that one on your bucket list.
Oh, hell, it's already going on there, girl. I'm like, pause the recording. So how have you been able to go from being 10 years with your husband, being platonic, it kind of fizzling out, to then in your 60s being so vibrant and excited about sex? Because at least from what I understood growing up, it was always like, oh, you lose your sex drive as you get older. You lose your libido as you get older. And I think that that's probably also where a lot of women end up selling themselves too short, because as they get older, it's maybe you don't feel them. If you're going through menopause, in fact, did that make a difference? Like, I'm so curious about, as you get older, how do you keep building your libido, your desire, and your arousal?
So if you think that sex is for procreation only, then sex is over when you go through menopause. That's where that came from. And that's not true. Sex is what fuels your vitality. And there was a study done in Europe with, I think it was 2,300 people were shown photos of people between the ages of 18 and 80 and asked to guess their age. And there was this group of people that everybody guessed to be about 8 to 10 years younger than they actually were. And they were really puzzled about this for a while and they couldn't figure it out. And they're like, they're super young. Why do they look super young? And they finally figured out that it was those people were having intimate relations 3 times a week or more. And they said sex, but if I say sex, you'll think intercourse, and women will be like, I'm out. Because they haven't ever had good intercourse, right? So let's start there. But I say it's intimacy. These super young, they had co-regulation of their nervous systems. They had hormones that flooded their body from the pleasure. They had a cascade of neurotransmitters, feel-good transmitters like serotonin and dopamine. They had spermidine, which comes from semen. And it essentially does autophagy. It cleans cellular debris out. Now you can take a supplement. I take spermidine every morning and night.
As in when a guy comes inside you, that actually
it's in his semen, as is testosterone. I also do testosterone replacement therapy.
Don't tell guys that. They're going to use that as a way to use it as face cream. And
well, I'll tell you something. I don't like to waste it on my face, for me personally, though I know many people do. And I think for some men that really makes them feel very accepted. And I understand that as well,
Interesting.
Their body is accepted when you do that. But it's, I'm not putting anyone who's not in a male-female pair bonded relationship in any lesser category, but there is a symbiotic relationship between the two genders. The ancient Taoist masters, the Taoist masters from thousands of years ago in China, they would do semen retention, and it was the spermidine that was keeping them young. That was why they wouldn't release, so they could last long. So they would have sex with all their concubines, but they wouldn't release because they wanted to live forever. And the component that was making them live forever was in the semen, and it was spermidine, putrescine, and purine.
Whoa.
And they do autophagy for us, which is cellular renewal.
Whoa.
I know. Actually, my eyelashes are finally growing thicker. I had a lot of hair loss like you. I had it from a virus. And I've had to regrow everything. And I've been doing the spermidine, and I've been doing stem cells and all kinds of things to get all that to grow back. But these super young, you think about it, they're getting hormones, they're getting oxytocin, they're co-regulating, they're getting their stress release, they're feeling connected and loved. And that makes you not only look 10 years younger, but live longer. So for me, it's not only... My lovemaking doesn't just fuel my vitality and creativity and my passion for life. It also makes me feel and look younger.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah.
So talk to me a bit more about what else we can do. I know that you're so into the biohacking, and I love that. I geek out about it. So tell me, what are the sorts of things, because you're very tactical as well. What are the tactical things that we can do? Maybe, and I don't know, would it vary depending on what age you are and where you are in your sexual evolution? And if you're with somebody, I'm not sure if that would make a difference, but... Yeah.
It's really about what's going on with your body, and it can happen at any time. It could be postpartum, it could be perimenopausal through menopausal, it could be later than that. But most female bodies have loss of lubrication, they have thinning of the tissue, they have incontinence, urge and sneeze incontinence, they have atrophy of the tissue, and they have...
the vaginal tissue?
Yes, even the labial tissue, the external and the internal. And we get more difficulty achieving climax.
That's with age.
Because what happens is your vascular system starts to retract. And when your veins and capillaries start to pull back to protect your organs, and you start to shrink as you age, and you start to get swelling of your ankles, or your rings don't come off as well, or things like that, that's vascular loss. That's plaque in your arteries that begins to calcify, which sends you toward heart disease. And, we talk a lot about breast cancer, but heart disease is the #1 killer of women. And it's from this vascular retraction and this, plaque, right? Atherosclerosis is what it's called. And when you can't get the blood flow to your genitals, they begin to atrophy. And when there's no blood it's called innervation, the nerves can't grow because the nerves don't have their own blood supply. They're supplied by the capillaries and the veins, and that's all, they kind of work together in these little tree trunks. So what happens is, as your estrogen drops, that gets the tissue thin. When you have no ability, when your ability to not get enough blood flow to the pelvic bowl happens, and you get this vascular retraction, the tissue starts to shrink and atrophy. So you're getting thinning and shrinking. So how do you reverse it? I do. I mean, I am more lubricated now in my 60s than I was in my 20s. I'm just a juicy little devil these days. And that's because I do a couple of things. The bottom of the stack is I do hormone replacement. As a matter of fact, now I'm an anomaly, but I have chosen not to go through menopause yet. So I'm 62 and I'm menstruating right now, actually.
Wow.
Yes, I still menstruate.
Oh,
I have this
wow.
dumb saying, I swear, Lisa, if you could improve this for me, I'm begging you.
All right,
But what I say is, if she ain't bleeding, she's receding. Because I know. But literally, it's like our bodies are planned obsolescence. They start breaking down about menopause, and it's kind of a fast slide downhill, and I don't want to get on that slide. I'm on the upward slide of everything, the upward pleasure and human potential spiral. That's what I'm on. So I work out a lot. I try to work out almost every day that I possibly can, and I lift a lot of weight. I like a lot of exertion. I do hormone replacement, testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone. I put the estrogen in my vagina. I put the testosterone on my clitoral structures.
Is that typical or is that?
It's fantastic. Of course you can do that.
Oh.
Yeah, just put it right where it needs to go and it absorbs into your body. You just get the right amounts of dosages and you do your blood tests and your Dutch tests to see how you're doing. And
is there someone you go, like, is there someone like a specific doctor? Or is it your gynecologist?
Gynecologists aren't very well schooled in these things, but functional doctors, naturopathic doctors, integrative doctors are the people who will really get you that stuff.
And is it like cream?
Yeah, it's a cream. And I actually have it compounded in shea butter because I say if you wouldn't put it in here, you shouldn't put it in there. They're two ends of the same tube, basically. They're mucosal linings. So you don't want to absorb toxins. You're trying to get rid of toxins in today's world, right? We're trying to detox, not retox. So bioidentical hormone replacement is excellent. And estrogen is neuroprotective, heart protective. It keeps your tissues supple. The testosterone helps you with confidence and musculature and brain function as well. I mean, these things are wonderful and available to us now in the 21st century. So I do that. The second thing that I do is I take a nitric oxide booster. Nitric oxide is the thing in your body that squeezes the blood around to where it needs to go. It has the vascular tone. It keeps vascular tone. And if you can't get the blood into your pelvic bowl, it accelerates that atrophy along with the loss of estrogen. So those two things are very easy to do and like the first line of defense. The next thing that I like to do is I like to either offer people, and I forgot to bring it, darn it. It's called the Vagina Device. And it's at vaginadevice.com and it's red light therapy. It's photobiomodulation, red light therapy up inside the vagina.
What?
Yes. So what it does is it stimulates mitochondrial development, which generates more ATP, which is your energy, and that creates a thickening of your vaginal mucosa. It brings back the vaginal mucosal lining. It also has warmth and vibration that allow your incontinence to be reversed, which is really nice. So it keeps that at bay. And the red light also stimulates glycogen. Glycogen is what good vaginal microbiome bacteria like to eat. And as we age and our estrogen diminishes, our glycogen diminishes. So the red light and the estrogen replacement help keep that vaginal mucosal lining supple and wonderful. For some women, they're like, that's not enough. I can't, it's like it's taking me everything to get to orgasm these days. I'm like, almost there. Oh, my husband's the same way. He's going at me and it takes forever, you know. And so for that, I like FemiWave. FemiWave is an acoustic wave technology that's done to the entire vulva that penetrates into all the tissue there and regenerates it. It does tiny little micro damage. Yeah, it's a little wand that they run right over the top of everything. And it stimulates a bunch of new vascularization, tissue growth, nerve growth. It brings you back. It's like it reverses aging of the genital system. So it's really incredible. So that's what I do. I really love that. And I recommend that much over the vaginal lasers and things like that, because it does it all instead of just up inside. So I love that. So those are the things that work really well.
It's going to be impossible to bring your confidence and badass energy to your work, your family, and your friends when you're constantly drained. But by fine-tuning your metabolic health, you can actually solve a lot of these problems and feel so much better. And there's no better tool to help you get there than Lumen. With Lumen, you can actually get real-time insights and recommendations to optimize your metabolic health. So if you want to take the next step into actually improving your health so that you can feel like a freaking confident badass, then go to lumen.me and use coupon code NYBBS, which is Nurture Your Bad Bitch Soul, to get 15% off your Lumen right now. Take advantage, because this is literally the lowest price they've ever been, and it's only for you guys that are listening and watching right now. So go to Lumen, spelled LUMEN.me, M-E, and use coupon code NYBBS at checkout to get your 15% off right now. Let's say people don't have access to this, or, they get busy and people are like, I don't even have time to do all that. And God, I already have a long laundry list to do, and now you want me to do more, right? I totally get it.
Me too.
What are the things that more people can do almost like on a simple basis, that maybe even day to day, that can eventually really help them build their libido back and that connection with their partner?
Yep. Yoni massage. It really is the thing. And it's very hard for women to simply receive. And it's a very good practice to allow yourself to, first of all, let your partner kind of be all thumbs at first, and to learn their way around, and to find out what kind of touch you like, and to give that pleasure to you. But I have never met a partner who doesn't want to do that for their woman. Once they know it's really like a portal into unlimited pleasure for a woman. Because we need all this stimulation to get the blood flowing in there, as you touch that tissue and it becomes more plump, more tumescent, more, swollen, if you will, with the blood flow, everything starts to feel good. So then and the way that I like to do it is I tell guys, it's like a bullseye. I call it my bullseye touch technique, which is, if you think about a bullseye with the concentric rings, most guys are like, I gotta pull the arrow back and go right for the creamy center. That's how they are, right? I mean, they're just like so goal-oriented. And I say, you've got to do everything you can to control that impulse, because nobody wants to be grabbed by the right away. We're not ready. Slow down, turn around, come back, let us get in our body, calm our nervous system, pleasure our yoni. After you've stroked us and kissed us and held us and told us what you love about us and how smart we are, how sexy we are, all of those things we need to hear, then start on the mons and start on the outer areas, the outer labia. And think about it like you're doing the outside ring first, and that's your 3, 2, 1. 3 is the outside, 2 is the inside, which would be maybe the clitoral hood, the inner labia, the little fourchette at the bottom. And sometimes outside is even inner thighs, the groin, your little sweet cheeks, your belly. I like a belly massage. I hold a lot of tension in my belly, and I'm always trying to hold it in, which I try to let it go, but when you're thinking about things or whatever, you're holding. And so I love when my man starts with my belly. And if you are the kind of person where you're like, well, the 4 is not available to me, or I can't afford it, or what have you, just get some avocado oil or some sweet almond oil or some jojoba oil, and use that, or some MCT oil, whichever one you like the feel of. Just be careful if you're getting avocado that it's not green. Get the refined kind, or it'll stain your sheets.
Oh.
You don't want the green one.
No.
Have them give you a belly massage.
Can I just ask you, in this moment, are you already in the mood? Because I'm thinking about someone, so you're literally like, you're not in the mood, you really don't want to be touched, but are you just telling yourself then, once he starts, you're going to like it? Like, how do you actually then get in the mood?
Well, I give it 20 minutes of undivided attention on my pleasure and relaxation. I allow my body to do what I know she can do. And then if I get there and I'm like, I just don't think I can go further today, that was really good and I really appreciate it. Thank you for trying. I couldn't get lift off. What I say to men is give her unlimited yoni massages, because right now you're not getting as much sex as you want. But when you start giving her unlimited yoni massages and the one time out of 10, she's like, I don't know. I think I just need to roll over and go to sleep now. Do you mind? And you say, of course not, darling. It was my pleasure to make you feel good. Let me tuck you in. Do you need anything before you go to bed? He's going to win so big by doing that. When he gets out of the I'll do you if you do me, what I call the quid pro quo, right? When he gets out of that mindset, like I'm giving to get, because we can tell. As soon as he gets out of that and he's like, you, by official declaration in this marriage to you, you have unlimited yoni massages, sign up here. And you're like, really? And he does it 20 times, and 18 of them, you end up having the best sex of your life. And 2 of them, he tucks you in and puts the little sheet over your shoulder. And he loves you even more because he's gotten way more sex. He's netted more sex. Mm-hmm. You've had better sex. You're finally starting to have really good orgasms because you're getting all that genital, yumminess. I swear, it is just the trick. It's the trick.
Oh my God, I love that so much. Susan, where can people find you and everything that you're doing and all these amazing products and your books and all the content and the courses and everything that you've got out there?
Well, I think probably the main place is betterlover.com. There's yoni massage videos on there. They're not explicit. You can watch them with your partner. Betterlover.com gets you on my newsletter, and that's where I send out sex tips and sexual biohacking and all these kinds of things. And I'm on Instagram by my name, Susan Bratton, but I think that's a good place to start.
If you're wondering why he sucks at sex and how to actually fix it, then keep watching. One of the top Google questions, number 1 is where is the G-spot, which makes me think that, men do want to pleasure women.
Yeah,
and so they actually want to know where the G-spot is. So I was like, good on you, dudes.
Yeah, they do. They absolutely do. So the G-spot, just so you know, for years, people like the G-spot doesn't exist, or it's not a real orgasm, or it does exist. I mean, it doesn't, for so many years, female anatomy has been understudied and completely debated. And all I want to say is, yes, there is a G-spot. I call it the G area because it's not necessarily a particular spot. Plus, it was named after this guy, Grafenberg, and he did not have a G-spot. Leave it to a man to name the G-spot in a woman and whatever. But the G-spot is essentially the internal clitoral nerve endings. So the clitoris isn't just a little bud, if you don't, maybe you do know or you don't know, isn't just that bud that's outside the vaginal opening, the little bud on top. It actually has legs that extend deep inside behind the labia, and right there, about an inch and a half to 2 inches inside the vaginal opening, up towards the belly button, is an area, and that area, when stimulated, can feel incredible. Now, to have a G-spot orgasm, it helps to have a clitoral orgasm first and to already be aroused, because orgasm is all about blood flow, and it's all about, kind of the stimulus. So you're sort of thinking about that getting revved up, you're getting already turned on, and then you'll feel like an area when you're looking for the G-spot with this come hither motion with your finger towards the belly button, you start to feel a little rough area, kind of like a peach pit, and you apply pressure to that area for maximum stimulation.
Everybody rewind that again and again and again and play it for your guy or for your partner, because you just explained it so perfectly. So if people are reading, and I'm just going to say men just for ease here, but obviously it's never going to be just men, but if men are looking for how do I, find the G-spot for my woman, they actually want to please you.
Yes.
So now as women, if we always revert to faking it because we're uncomfortable, we're insecure, we're now speaking different languages. Mm-hmm. So that's why, again, I really want to do this episode and go about how we think differently, because that was so enlightening, because I think that for me, again, just going to go back to me, in me faking it, I was doing such a disservice to the guy, because he thought he found it. He thought he was pleasing me, and now he's not going to go learn. And to be honest, I probably did a disservice then for the next woman that was to follow me.
Exactly. That's exactly it, Lisa. We are doing a disservice not only to yourself. You're robbing yourself of pleasure. You're robbing yourself of sexual growth, of understanding your body. But then your partner's going, I'm the king of the universe. I can make every woman orgasm. And yeah, it's a disservice. But not only that, So that's part of it. And I was a faker too for many, many years. And in fact, this is one of the reasons why I got into this career, because I was like, I do not want to live a life of faking it. I assumed that if my partner had an orgasm and I faked it, like it was a good time, because it was more about I prioritized his pleasure over my own. So I had to really do the work. Going back to masturbation, I figured out my most valuable sex information about myself by letting my fingers, a vibrator, figure it all out. Like that's what I had to do. And then when we talk about intimacy and connecting to a partner and what makes great sex and what makes great confidence, is because I now know how to please myself. So when my partner's trying to figure out, right, the different combinations of the Rubik's Cube, I can be like, thanks for trying. You seem really enthusiastic here. Let me show you what I've learned. And a partner who doesn't have ego around it and just wants to please you is going to be like, cool, thank God. Phew, I don't have to fumble around because you know when you've done the work. So a lot of us don't know, and it doesn't surprise you that people are Googling like G-spot, because we just literally, I mean, let me tell you about that. There's a G-spot, then there's a clitoris, and the clitoris, in the writing of this book, for years, we've all been saying the clitoris is 8,000 nerve endings. The clitoris is 8,000 nerve endings. It is the only sexual organ that exists for pleasure. Come to find out, in the middle of the book, there is a New York Times headline that says it has 12,000 nerve endings. Because they just did study. We found 4,000 more nerve endings. A circumcised penis has 4,000 nerve endings. Some would say that the G area is actually clitoral nerve, internal clitoral nerves that sort of come to the head at a spot. So it's all related. It looks different on everybody. So do some work. Figure it out. Have some fun with it.
And stop faking it, right?
Stop
Because we're just
faking
doing
it.
everyone a
Please do not
disservice.
fake it. I faked it for so many years. Listen, and if you're faking it, I think that it's also okay, because I always get questions, people like, what do I do? We might have talked about this, and someone said, maybe someone emailed or called, but like, what do you do if you have been faking it all this time, and how do you handle it? And I think first off, just letting yourself know that it's okay, having compassion to yourself. And then you could also say to a partner, you know, I really wanted to orgasm and I feel like I've been getting close to it, but I want to have a different kind of orgasm. I want it to be more collaborative. I'm thinking we could learn together. Like, let's slow it down. Let's learn our bodies. I mean, you could say you were faking it. You could say you learned that it was a different way. I'm just trying to help
That's
you.
what literally I was going to ask you, Emily. So let's play no bullshit. You've been in a relationship, let's say for, I'm not even going to say a long time. Let's say 3 years. And you've just been faking it. Let's say you've been insecure, you weren't confident yet, you've listened to
You didn't think you could, yeah.
You didn't think you could, yeah, like all the things that we've spoken about. And now you're like, okay, I understand why I can't fake it anymore. How do you approach that? Like, in all honesty, how do you approach it? Do you think it's a good idea to say, look, I was a different person then, I've now learned? Or is it better just to like stay quiet and like just then evolve?
What you say to your partner is you just say, okay, so these are the conversations that have to happen outside the bedroom. Mm-hmm. You don't want to have them in the bedroom. You don't want to have it happen when you're like, hey, let's just, you know, I love to encourage people and remind people to leave the bedroom for sleeping and for sex.
Actually, yes, is what, the 3 T's?
The 3 T's of communication.
Yeah.
Have we talked timing, tone, and
Please,
turf?
yeah.
So these are the 3 T's, timing, tone, and turf. Just remember this when you want to have your conversations about sex. You want to do it at the right time when you are not, remember this, halt, hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. If you are any one of those states, that is not the time to have a conversation about just a charged subject like your sex life. So when you are feeling really good and connected to your partner and you're chilling, you're hanging out, you're going to a movie, you're going for a walk, those are when you want to have, this is when you want to have these conversations. The other time is the tone. The tone is open, curious, confident, and it's light, and it's supportive. And it's saying, you know what, babe, I realize that we haven't talked about our sex life before, but I really want to be a great lover to you. I really want to figure out ways that we can be the most supportive together. So, and then we can get back to how to do this using the orgasm conversation. And the turf is outside the bedroom. It can be when you are, what I love to tell people is when you're going for a walk. Because this way you're walking, it's intimate, but you don't have to make eye contact. Or the best thing is when you're in a car driving, because that way you're like literally to make eye contact, but you know that you're safe. No one can hear your conversation. You're driving along. You're like, so on a road trip. So let's talk about our sex life. That's where we start. So you're having this conversation. You're saying, listen, I've been learning a lot about intimacy lately and sex. I came from a place where I didn't learn a lot about my body. I didn't really understand my orgasms or pleasure or masturbation or any of that. And I was listening to women of impact, Lisa Bilyeu and Emily Morse from Sex with Emily. They were talking about this, and I'd actually never heard this conversation before. And I realized that I've been really invested in our relationship, and I really want to make you feel good. And this is when you also can use one of my tips, which is the compliment sandwich. We can go into another tactic, and this is where you start by telling something that you really love about your sex life. Because this is going to come as a big surprise to your partner. So you say, and I was thinking about our sex life and all the things I love about it. I love how we make out. I love how you slowly kiss me. I love that you're always down to please me. And that's the first part of the bread. And then there's the meat. The meat is when you're giving some constructive feedback, and perhaps you're letting them know that you say, you know what I learned is that when we're together, I have a lot of enthusiasm. A lot of times it seems like I am orgasming. And I've been trying really, really hard to figure out my own body, what makes me feel good. But I had a lot of shame around the fact that I didn't know how to orgasm, and I was not being honest with you. I was faking my pleasure. I've been doing it forever, not just with you. I'm going to assume people do it with all their lovers. And this has nothing to do with you or your penis or anything. It has to do with my own misinformation, not valuing my pleasure, not valuing my body. And then you end that last piece of bread is where we wrap it up. And you're like, and I really hope that we could start to slow down and learn my body together. Because I know when I start having genuine, real, orgasmic pleasure, that our sex life is really going to go to the next level, and I could be even better lover to you, and you can be a better lover to me. So would you be willing to take some time to learn and explore it together? That's how you do it.
That was so wonderful.
It's hard. It's a tough one, right? And you're probably like, what do you mean? What do you mean? But like, if you understand that the cards are stacked against women, nobody's teaching us how to orgasm. We're watching porn and the women are screaming pleasure when the penis is going inside, and I'm sitting there going like, he's nowhere near her clitoris. There's no way she's having pleasure. What the hell is going on? We're told it's supposed to happen in 5 minutes. Like everything. So I just hope that if you are nervous about this and you do feel shame, that the world has not been on your side. Like, it's not like all of your other friends are orgasming like crazy. They're not. They're probably faking it too. So having compassion for yourself and having a partner that's really like down to try, it doesn't mean that you can remind them. It doesn't mean that I wasn't enjoying our sex life. Remember, it just means that I haven't taken the time yet to explore. And this is why I also love mutual masturbation. Mutual masturbation is like one of my top tips for people in a relationship, no matter what the stage of your relationship. You don't have to be together 20 years to do this. I mean, people think, oh God, that's so intimate. Well, once we've cleared, and if you didn't hear this part, rewind, but we talked about masturbation being healthy, a healthy part of your sexual health. Assume that you do masturbate, and you've gotten there to say to your partner, would you be down with the two of us can masturbate side by side? Because this way, you're not only, it's like kind of a twofer. You're learning your own body, what feels good. You're seeing what your partner's doing. You're like, oh, like that. First off, you're learning what they do. Like, I didn't know that you took your hand and you put up over your penis or you cup your balls. Like, maybe next time I'm with your penis, I'll do the same thing. Or with your vagina. Like, we're learning what they actually do. And it's also really hot. It's hot to see your partner in ecstasy and pleasure and pleasing themselves. And it's kind of a threefer, because then you know you're going to have an orgasm. You know you're going to have pleasure.
I love a threefer.
Yeah, the threefer. Who doesn't love a threefer, right?
And what I love also in everything you explain it, if you've had multiple partners, I'm just going to say it for myself, I just assumed all guys were the same. Like when I first started having sex with my first boyfriend, I thought, oh, okay, this is what he likes. So I just took that and onto my second person that I slept with, because I was like, oh, must be what guys like. And sometimes it's like the complete opposite. Yes. And so understanding and having that like open communication with that like mutual masturbation, I think is wonderful, because you can actually just see for yourself what they like specifically.
Exactly. That's it. That's how you're going to learn. That's how you're going to learn. Everyone's different. Everyone's partner's different. I remember one time I was with the guy and he was like, didn't like his balls touched. So for years I didn't touch any balls. And then I was like, okay. But then what some guy was, I do like it. I'm like, great. Like, I cannot make assumptions, but that's why the most important thing is to go slow. Every time you're with a partner, you have the opportunity to learn something new. It's a whole new body. They have different sets of nerve endings. They have different things are in different places. So you get to learn together.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but again, I'm just going to speak for myself. I used to make it about me. So in fact, let's talk about a man getting hard, the soft penis.
Yes, we always make it about us. We assume, especially women, well, I think men do this too, but let's talk about what women do. If he's not hard, I must not be attractive, right? If he's not going down to me, it must mean that I smell or there's something wrong with me. If he's not initiating, he always initiates, but now he's not initiating, what did I do wrong? We immediately make it about ourselves. And especially when it comes to something about sex, well, I think most things actually, it's not about us. It's usually about the other person. With actually most things in life, that's a great lesson. Like it's not... unless you get curious, ask questions, find out, have these conversations. But we do ourselves such a disservice when we make these assumptions that there's something wrong with us. And then we're just blocking ourselves off from pleasure. We're blocking ourselves off from having the best sex that we can have. So yeah, we are totally making assumptions. And then you just say like, hey, like I actually had a boyfriend that I had this relationship with him. And I said to him about the same thing about oral sex. We had been together for about a year, and at the beginning, he used to go down to me all the time, and then he stopped. And I knew that oral sex was a really important source of my arousal. It was like a requirement for me. Like, I wanted oral sex. I liked oral sex. I had just started doing this career. I was learning to ask for what I want. So I said to him, I said, what is it? I actually asked him, I said, is that you don't know what I want? Because I can tell you. Is that you think I don't want it? Or is it just not your thing? And he's like, it's just not my thing. I was like, okay, well then you're not my thing. Now listen, the truth of the matter is, it might not have been his thing because maybe he had a bad experience with an ex and maybe she didn't like it. Or maybe something happened and she told him he was bad at it. And he internalized it as it's not my thing. Or maybe he was with somebody, like, let's be honest, sometimes there is an odor with somebody. And usually if there is, it's because she might have an untreated STI. A lot of times women have an odor. They might have bacterial vaginosis and they just can't smell it. They don't know it. It's really hard to get rid of it sometimes. And that just comes from different things. It can come from sex with a new partner. We can have different infections that can lead to an odor that we might not be aware of. So maybe there was an experience that just wasn't great and they didn't really know how to handle it, so as a way he's internalized oral sex as something that wasn't his thing. So if that happens to you, if someone's not going down on you, I encourage you to have conversations about anything. Do not make assumptions that it's about you. You could ask them. Maybe they'll say to you, I didn't think that you liked it, or had a bad experience once. Or maybe they'll say to you, yeah, maybe there is an odor. Maybe you should get checked by your doctor because in the past you have been smelled this way, but something has shifted and I really care about you and your health. So please go get checked out by a doctor. Now, I know people think they're going to roll over and die. That would be the worst thing ever. But the truth is, if your partner's telling you that, it's because they care about you, they want to please you, and they want you to be sexually healthy. But most of the time, especially with sex, we make all the assumptions. It's about me. I'm a bad lover. My penis is too soft. And again, we assume if they're not hard, that we're not hot. Like, oh my God, he's not hard. Clearly, I'm not attractive to him anymore. Clearly, my blowjob wasn't good enough. Clearly, and I'm telling you, it could be further from the case. Most of what's happening during sex or not happening during sex has to do with our own mind, our own insecurities. We cock block ourselves. Like, we orgasm block ourselves more than somebody else. We're worried we're not going to come. We're worried we're not going to stay hard. And as a result of that, we don't. So, and that's because we're not talking about it. If we could say to someone, hey babe, tonight, or if you're going down to me, here's what I actually need. Thanks for that. Like, let me show you what I need. I need you to go a little bit softer, a little bit slower. And maybe if my neck hurts and I'm the one who's giving, I can get into another position. We have to just give each other permission that sex isn't so linear. That you can stop and start and we can talk about things and we can adjust and we can make it more comfortable. If we went to a movie theater with a partner and we didn't like the popcorn or we didn't like our seats or we were uncomfortable, we would move it around. We would make adjustments. If we went to a restaurant and the meal came, we didn't like it, we would send back our steak. But in sex, we're just accepting everything that it comes in because we're so afraid of talking about it that we silently suffer through really disappointing experiences and not getting our needs met.
Oh, that's so true. And I'm not sure if you actually just mentioned it, but so many assumptions that we bring to the table. So the assumption, and for me was, so when I have alcohol, you give me one glass, we've been out, it's just get giggly.
Yeah.
I get giggly, I get funny. It's like I want to jump my husband's bones.
Yeah.
I'm like, come here. I'm very vocal.
Yeah.
And I thought that guys do the same, but when guys drink, actually it inhibits them, right?
It can
from
inhibit them.
erections and from having
Absolutely
orgasms.
it can. Yeah. I mean, I'm telling you that, listen, there are so many different factors that are contributing to us being sexually healthy. But since we compartmentalize our sex life, we just put it over here and we don't investigate all the factors. So yes, our health, our physical health, our mental health, all of these things are contributing to it. So if you're someone who's a big drinker, if you're having a cocktail every night or two, I mean, again, we all metabolize alcohol differently, but it could 100% have an impact on your erection. If you're taking an antidepressant or blood pressure medication, it can impact your erection, your ability to have an orgasm. We have to remember that it's a bio-individuality. We are all so different, and you have to look at all of the factors: your mindset, your physical health, your mental health. How embodied are you? How often do you move your body? How well do you communicate about sex? Those are all the reasons why you're not getting hard, but it does not have to do with you. So with your partner, like if I'm with somebody, now I know, like there's a million different things going on, but it's typically not about me.
Oh, dude, I've got so much to talk about. So I want to talk about age as well and the difference in age and things like that. So if you don't mind, actually, before we touch on that, do you mind breaking down the 5 pillars?
Yes, of course. So here's the 5 pillars. So again, I was writing this book. I'm like, here's all the tips. We got the oral chapter, we got the anal chapter, we got the sex positions. And then I realized that after all these years, people do want the quick fix. But there are 5 pillars of becoming sexually intelligent and sexually well that you need to be aware of. They are fundamental. They're the foundation of your sexual health. And they're going to fluctuate throughout your lifetime. They're going to change. They could change day to day, week to week, month to month. So the first one is embodiment. How in my body am I? Do I feel my feet on the floor right now? Do I have my hands on this couch? When I'm having sex with someone, do I feel what's going on in my body, or am I leaving and disassociating? The second one is health. Our overall physical health and mental health. Am I moving my body? Am I in shape? Again, blood flow. If I am not moving my body, not exercising, it's going to impact my sex life. If I'm on medications, I'm not eating well, I'm not healthy.
Your health. I was going to say nutrition, I bet. Nutrition is massive.
Massive. It's a healthy diet. It's foods that feel good to you. That's all important. It's massive. If you exercise, what you eat, and then your mental health. Have you dealt with any traumas? Are you in therapy? All those things are important. What medications are you taking? The third one is collaboration. How well do you communicate with your partner about your sex life? Do you talk about it? Do you have resentments? Are you withholding on things? You might even have something going on in your relationship right now that you haven't talked to your partner about. That's going to impact your ability to be sexual. So that's collaboration. And then there's self-acceptance. Do I accept myself where I am today? Do I accept my body? Do I accept myself, my sexual experience? And that's really the confidence one. How confident am I? How much do I accept where I'm at today? And then the 5th pillar is your self-knowledge. Do I know what turns me on? Do I know my fantasies, my fetishes, what temperature I need the room to be, what time of day I'm the most aroused and turned on, what I need leading up to sex? Do I need to shower? Do I need a clean house? Do I need dirty talk? So it's really about taking all your years of sexual history, everything that you've done, and to date, how well do you know yourself? And the combination of all 5 of those pillars are going to help you feel sexually healthy and well. And I do have a sex IQ quiz. It is a very loving quiz. It's going to guide you in the direction of where you might want to focus first, of how you can start to become more sexually aware, healthy, and conscious.
Oh, I love that. And I love how you break it down and you call it the sex IQ, which is so smart, because then, smart pun intended, so you can like really figure out like how smart you are over there, and then how do you get better, because that is so important that there's these different pillars that you really do need to touch. And as part of what I wanted to go deep down is the age, right? So taking all of your past, you even said your knowledge and things like that. And then it never occurred to me to think about, when I was 21, this is what I was into. Obviously, I was married at 23. So like my sex drive, my husband's sex drive, our interaction, our dynamic is very different now that I'm in my 40s, been married for 20 years.
Yeah.
And really talking through just the difference in age from a psychological and physical standpoint, and then with experience and how you've evolved. So let's actually just take the mindset and the physiology. So number one, when I first met my husband, he was 4 times a day, like rabbits. I was bloody exhausted. I was like, does this man want to do anything else from this time?
Right.
And then now, 20 years later, he's like, babe, I'm not the 20-year-old guy. immediately the first thing I thought of is, oh, it's me. Am I getting too old for him? And so I just, because as you know, my relationship with him, we're very open. So I was like, babe, is everything okay? You know, and his response being very honest, he's just like, I'm not 20 years old anymore.
Yeah.
But if you don't have that communication, how many of us project or think through, hang on a minute, we had this really hot, spicy sex for the first few months. He couldn't keep his hands off me. And now 2 years later, like, he's burping and snoring and, you know, like that sort of thing. We make it about us.
We totally do, Lisa. And I'm glad you brought this up because we need to normalize the fact that at the beginning of any relationship, this is why you're together. They call it the honeymoon phase for a reason. It feels amazing. You've got this delicious feel-good cocktail of all those hormones that feels so good, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and they are firing in all cylinders. It's new, exciting. I've never kissed this person this way. I've never touched this person this way. Like, it's just a thrill. However, it is a drug. You literally look at the brainwave patterns of people falling in love and people like in the new stage and people on cocaine, and they have the same exact brainwaves. It is a drug. This is what's happening. It's the hormones. Just like anything that great, that feels that good, what goes up has to come down. You cannot sustain and maintain that level of attraction and arousal. You can still be attracted to each other, but what I say is it looks differently. It morphs, it changes over time. And that's when I usually start seeing people. Very few people are coming at me in the honeymoon phase because there's no problems. This is the best person. They smell so good. They taste so good. They can do no wrong. They are my everything. We're having sex all the time until they're not. And so this is when the communication, the collaboration, the knowledge all has to come into play because things do change over time. We do get set in our ways. Our hormones change. You know, our hormones for women, we're on a 28-day cycle. So not only year to year, but month to month. There's certain times a month where, you know, some women find when right before ovulation, they are so horny. They want sex all the time. But when they have their period, less so. And then for men, also, we've got hormones. I mean, there's a lot of sex that's hormone-driven, but when men get into their 40s, for many, there's a drop in testosterone. And so there's a lot of different factors that are coming into play that we have to pay attention to, all of them. Again, that's why the 5 pillars come in handy. But also just what you want in your 20s, even like food-wise, movies-wise, book-wise, like everything changes. But since there's not a lot of information around sex, sometimes we just keep having sex the same way. We're setting ourselves up against the same standards, and we're just changing. And so that's why I encourage people to look at their sex life as a journey, right? Like it's changing and you're exploring and there's so much that you can learn together. Like get curious about your sex life. Download my Yes, No, Maybe list, which is at my website, sexwithemily.com. It has 80 different sex acts, like dirty talk, spanking, kissing, taking a bath together. I mean, and you can get together, we just updated it so it's an interactive. Is it a yes? Is it a no? Is it a maybe? Because what we crave in long-term relationships, we crave the spontaneity, the newness, the novelty. So sometimes trying something new could just be a vibrator, a lubricant, a new position, but that's going to stoke the dopamine and the newness and the excitement. So these are the level of conversations I want people to have. Babe, how many times a week feels good to us? When do we want it? You know, we've decided we don't want it every day. And if you want it 4 times a week and I want it once a week, so that means we need to find 2.5 times a week to connect on our best days. How do we do that? And I also want to encourage people to know that it doesn't have to be just intercourse. And in fact, I encourage people that maybe it's mutual masturbation. Maybe it's a massage. Maybe one day you give your partner a massage, they give you a massage, because sometimes we're not necessarily craving the sex, but we're craving connection and intimacy. That's going to change.
Oh, dude. Okay. There's so many good things there.
Oh, my God.
Okay. So first of all, I want to talk about, I had no idea that depending on, so as we're talking about like the age and depending on, you know, when you meet them and things like that, there's going to be so many different variables. And it never dawned on me. There were so many different variables. So for instance, and again, I did just a Google search. What are the things that women most search for? And it broke it down depending on where you're from and how old you are. And I was like, oh my God, there's so much complexity here.
Yes.
None of us are mind readers. So depending on what city or what country you're from and how old you are, it's going to differ from the search and your interests. So let me just throw a few out. I found this totally fascinating. So for instance, in the United States right now, women are 102% more likely to view an ebony porn video And British, 31% more likely to watch rough sex videos. British people.
Okay.
So just by depending on where you're from, you're searching for different things. This was fascinating. Women in Canada are 36% more likely to be into threesomes than French women are 103% more into cuckold videos. So in just doing my research on the different country, women, this is women searching, are interested in different things. Now you want to throw in age. I'm just going to throw, I just found this fascinating again. The thing that women are looking most for, the age between 25 and 35 are tattooed women in porn.
Really? Interesting.
I had no idea. I'm not quite sure why. Between the age of 35 and 44, they're looking for double penetration.
Okay.
And between 55 and 64, they're looking for porn called vintage porn, which who knew that actually existed?
Yeah, probably porn back from when they were younger, right? The old school porn.
And now the last
care.
one, 65, age 65 and older, they're 143% more likely to look for videos about hand jobs.
Interesting.
So as I started to go down a rabbit hole, as you can see, I was like, in everything we're talking about, when you're meeting someone for the first time, compared to now being in a relationship, let's say, for 15, 20 years, now depending on when you were born, where you're from, like the age, there's so much mystery that the reason why I really want to talk about this is like now hopefully people are like, oh yeah, I don't know anything about someone else. I can only know about myself.
Right, exactly. And how fun to get to learn when you're with somebody new. Don't make any assumptions about their sex life, that you know their history. Just like when you meet someone and you ask them, like, what's your passion at? What's your favorite trip? Where do you want to go traveling when you're older? What did you want to be when you grew up? What do you want to do? Like get curious about their sexual interests as well. I also have the 69 questions in the book. I have like these cards that you can find also on my website, but mostly in the book is these 69 questions. So these 69 questions are basically questions that you ask your partner to get to know them better sexually. Because I get that we might not know the questions to ask. We might be really shut down. And that's why, I mean, a lot of what I do is give people the tools so you can get curious and you can learn more. We cannot make assumptions. And how great to know, like, what's your biggest turn on? What's the most memorable time you've had sex? When do you feel the most loved? When do you feel the most turned on? What's your number one fantasy? What's your favorite sex position? Like, have fun with this. Because again, once we melt away the shame and the worry and the judgment, and you're with a partner who's like, yes, I want to learn. Yes, let's do this. Like, let's go. You're going to have so much more pleasure and way, way less pain. So talking about it, as you can see with all these differences, it's the most important thing you can do when it comes to sex.
What do you think is the most, having done all of your work and your book, and I mean, you've just been in this industry talking about for sex for so long, what do you think is like the hardest thing for people to really do?
I think it would be to talk about it in a non-shaming, non-blaming way, where they're really, really good listeners and they learn to prioritize their sex life and figure out and recognize that they have different arousal patterns and different arousal styles. So yeah, I would have to say it's communication. Communication is a lubrication. I would say it's really hard for people to talk about sex in a way that's productive and helpful.
That's what I was going to say. How do you like advise them to stay open to it? Because if that is the number one thing, where it's like people just got to communicate, and then the belief system that they bring to the table, right? Like when you talk about the shame and the judgment, it really is the belief system of who you are, and then what it means to say X, Y, and Z or do X, Y, and Z, especially when you're brought up in a religious household.
Exactly.
Like growing up Greek Orthodox, sex wasn't discussed. Literally, my grandmother was the stork, brought the baby.
Exactly. Is that what you think?
Right. Yeah, that's what my grandmother told me.
Right. You don't know. You're like, okay, look, that's it. Why would you believe any different? So here we have this thing, which is sex, which is like just completely shrouded in mystery. And then we send our kids off into the world. It's like giving them the keys to the car without having taken driver's training. That's what sex is. Sex is people are going out into the world and they're like piecing together things they were told. If they grew up in a religious environment, it's shameful and wrong to have sex even beyond if it's not for procreation. So the decks are stacked against most of us when it comes to sex. So being able to unpack everything that you've been told, to unlearn everything that's wrong, which is a lot of the things, and then to relearn to follow sex positive voices, to challenge your own beliefs and saying like, what are my limiting beliefs around sex? Oh, I feel like if I ask for what I want in bed that I'm a slut. Or I feel like if this partner tries to this thing, that means that they're too easy. Or it means that we have so many judgments around it. And so once those start to melt away and we decide that we get to decide who we want to be as a sexual being, we're in charge of that message. It makes it a lot easier to be in a healthy relationship so you can go forward, because the actual technical sex, we can troubleshoot all that. Like, you have pain, you want to do a certain position, your partner wants to try something new, they want to try a fantasy, they want to try a kink, like, that stuff's easy. It's all the other stuff that we bring around and that makes sex really, really hard.
And so, thank you. And I don't think I'm giving anything away because you say it in your book, but you went from the person who would fake it to now, you said 23 orgasms in a day. I was
did.
like, homie, teach a woman how. I thought 7 was amazing.
Yeah.
I was like, I feel like I'm the queen.
7's great. Well, it was, you know, I had a lot of time that day. I had our friend the magic wand.
Okay.
We love it.
We do love the magic wand.
So no, it was like, it was through the partner and we were exploring, we were having fun. And then I just like, because here's the thing about women, this is why we're so amazing. Okay, here's the difference between men and women. Ready? Men have a longer refractory period. That is the time that it takes them to have an orgasm, get hard again, and have another one. For some men, it can be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour. As we get older, for some men, it's 24 hours. For women, this is where we're very blessed. We can have many, many orgasms, and it's regenerative. It's helpful. It's, you know, multiple orgasms, but we don't realize it. We don't realize the source of our potential. We don't realize our eroticism. We don't understand that once we can fan the flames and have one orgasm, it's all energy, right? So sex is energy, and we can have to circulate that energy in our body. So it's by like breathing into our first orgasm. And then maybe if we are using our hand or a penis or a toy, we take that away. And then we just start to breathe until we start to feel it rise again. And then we can bring something back. So I believe that day I was playing with a partner, we were experimenting, using toys, doing a lot of different things. And it was a long, fun evening.
So, but like, you can't rush through it, girl. I'm like, I want to know what you did. So you woke up. Okay. So actually I'm joking, but I'm not really joking. So I'm going to assume, so you were not stressed.
No.
You cleared your day. Because I'm really like serious.
Yes.
Let's break this. Because if I want to get to 23,
we were on vacation.
You were on vacation. You were on vacation.
We were away. We were like away at a
Okay, so no distractions.
No distractions. No work.
Okay, you'd been with him you were comfortable.
I've been together about a year and a half.
Okay, so you were comfortable to be around him.
I felt safe.
Okay, so you've had sex before, felt safe. So you're on vacation, which probably means you're getting vitamin D.
Yes. Of getting vitamin D. I didn't have the stressors of my home. Remember we talked about novelty being a huge connecting force for couples.
Okay. Novelty.
I didn't have to look in the corner and see my laundry or the unpaid bills, or it was something new. It was new for both of us. We had never been in this hotel room before. We had never been in this place before. It was exciting. It was sunny. It was warm. There was vitamin D. There was a sense of connection and excitement, and we knew that we were going to try. I mean, listen, you know this. One of the great perks of my job is I get a lot of great pleasure products sent to me every single day. So we brought a bunch of new, not fun things to play
And you
with.
spoke about that before?
Yeah.
So it becomes the foreplay of like, oh, should we?
Yeah.
Okay.
What should we bring?
Yeah.
I had lingerie. I had arousal gels. I had sex toys. I had games. I had all this really fun stuff to play with.
Okay.
It was like a sex wonderland. Literally, I think I had a second suitcase. I had everything we needed for pleasure.
Okay, so you were very prepared.
Very prepared.
Okay.
Yep, I was very calm. I was prepared. I think a lot of times when we set ourselves up for like, I'm going to try to have 20 orgasms today, like it's not going to happen. It was pressure. It was more like, we've got time, we've got luxury. I think we worked out that morning.
Okay.
We went on a hike. We came back. We had sex. We had breakfast. We were just really aroused, turned on. We went swimming, came back. We're wet. It kept going throughout the day. And so really that's what it was about. We're like, and I was with an enthusiastic, loving partner who my energy fed his energy fed my energy. So it was, remember, that's what sex is. The partners that you want to be with, you're feeding off of each other's arousal and desire and orgasms, and it keeps going. And so I think that he was excited, that I was excited. Like, again, that's what great sex is about. So it went throughout the day, throughout the evening, and I slept really, really well.
I bet you did. That's amazing. Did you have any external like sense and things like that, or was it?
So I always do. So when I want to have like a really sexy evening, I love massage candles. So here's the thing about having what I consider to be really great connected sex is I like to bring all of the senses into my environment. I like to like when you hear like about a romantic bedroom or a sexy place, I love massage candles. I love a candle that can burn in. This is not a regular candle, but it burns into like really luxurious oils. So you have like a candle that you blow out and then you can pour that on your partner, they pour it on you and it's like warm and it turns into massage oil. So I love that. So I love having that scent. We had a really sexy playlist going. We had the waves of the ocean like lapping up on the shore. We had, just, yes, we had music, we had touch, we had fabrics that make me feel good. Here's the other thing I want to say about senses and arousal is that, yes, it's good to be sexy for a partner, but really this goes back to confidence. What makes me feel turned on? What makes me feel sexy? So I was wearing some sexy things that I felt really good in, like some lacy, strappy, more bondagey type gear. That was what I was into at the time. We had some fun, kinky things to play with. Here's the other thing about collaborating sexually. That's something like spanking or using a paddle or tying each other up or using blindfolds. It's just another way to play. I think people picture that stuff to be like this 50 Shades of Grey or Red Room of Pain. It really just means that when you take away one sense, the other senses become more heightened. So there was a lot of things to play with. There was a lot of fodder for our pleasure.
Dude, that's so cool. How much do you talk about then role play within it? So like, as you were saying, spanking, how much do you actually, if you don't mind actually discussing this?
Let's talk about it.
It can be a little sensitive, but like for instance, if I turned around and I did that where you just about the environment, their place, like all the candles, Tom I think would probably dig it. If I turned around and spanked him though, he'd be so fucking surprised. He'd like, what the fuck are you doing? So how much do you actually talk about role play? Because Tom and I, when we talk about masculine and feminine, we very much talk about that. And again, just being very honest with our communication.
Yeah.
He's always been very honest with it. He likes the masculine role.
Yeah.
And I'm always very honest. I like him to play the masculine. I don't like the dominatrix part. Again, zero judgment. Fucking go ham if you like it. But discussing that, how much do you think it's important to discuss ahead of time?
Really important.
And how much can people ebb and flow between roles?
Some people ebb and flow. It's such a great question because I think the masculine and the feminine is a really important conversation of the sexual polarity.
Yeah, can you explain that? Because I love that you touched on that.
So polarity is a really interesting concept. And I think that it's a newer concept for many people and they get caught up in the gender. So I'm not talking about gender at all here. I'm not talking about like you could have two men, two women. To create polarity, to create opposition, you need a positive force and a negative force. Think of two magnets. If you have two positive magnets, they're going to detract. So you need the positive and the negative force. So then you need the masculine and the feminine. And we all have it inside of us. You and I both, we run businesses, we're badass. I'm in my masculine, I'd say more than I'm in my feminine throughout the day.
Yeah.
I'm in phone calls, I'm doing shit, I'm doing shows, I'm making deals, I'm talking, I'm like getting shit done. That getting shit done mentality is the masculine. We all have it in us. And the masculine is more directive, it's purposeful, it has a mission, it's more of the structure. And the feminine is more nurturing, creative, there's more flow, there's more energy, it's more ethereal. That is the feminine. So I have that too in my daily life, but I would say I am more into the masculine. When I go into the bedroom, I am in my feminine. I am more submissive. I want my partner to be more dominant. Again, some people are switches. Some people do both. Sometimes they, and don't get me wrong, like sometimes with my partner, I'll want to give him a massage. I'll want to lead. I'll want to do at his pleasure. Then he'll turn to me and make it about my pleasure. That's different than saying like, I want him to take the lead. And just remember this, couples who find that they don't have the chemistry anymore, that can't get it going, it's because they're either both in their masculine or they're both in their feminine. No one's making a move. No one's initiating. This train isn't going anywhere. That's platonic. That's a platonic relationship, okay? There is no chemistry there. You have to have somebody lead and follow. If nobody initiates, there's zero sex happening, okay? If you're both passive, nothing's gonna happen. So it's understanding that polarity and how that manifests and how that looks in relationships is very, very different. But to go back to the spanking, for example, I just talked to my partner about it. I'm like, I like when you're playful. I like when you tug my hair or you give me a spanking. We did the yes, no, maybe list. Like we literally did that when we first started dating, and it was like, what's your yes, what's your no, what's your maybe? And we went through a whole bunch of sex acts, and how fun to find out, like, you like spanking, I like spanking. And I think it was very clear that I am more the submissive and he is more the dominant. And so it was clear that I would like to be spanked or I would like to be tied up, and if he asked me for that, I would be down to do that. But, it hasn't come up yet, and that's fine. He knows like his role. And for him, it feels really good to be in charge, and that helps him fuel his masculine. So it's just a concept of polarity. And so getting into that, now here's the other thing that I think is really important for people to understand. As a woman and who likes to be submissive, I need to consciously get myself into the feminine in order to receive in the bedroom. Otherwise, like, I'm bringing up work in the bedroom and what I want to do, like, that is not hot. That's not going to spark the flames of our desire. So when I know that I want to be my feminine, for me, it's slowing things down. It's taking a bath. It's breath work. When I breathe deeply into my pelvic, like if I just stop for a few minutes and I breathe, or I take a bath, or I know that all day, like, I need a disconnect between work and like love and romance and attraction. So I'll take a bath. I put some of my best smelling oil on my body. I'm touching my body. I'm connected to my body again. And then I breathe. Maybe it's just 10 deep breaths. But when you breathe, you want to connect to your power source, which is your pelvic floor, where all the sexual energy and arousal, no matter what your body part, if you can relate to the fact that when you're feeling turned on, you're feeling it in your genitals. You're feeling it right here. So this goes for men and for women as well, because I also don't want to make the assumption that every man is just ready to go. That's a disservice to men. Like, you should always be hard and turn on and ready to go. But as a woman, what I do is I will breathe deeply, like a long breath, and then I'll do a little Kegel. Okay? A Kegel is those pee-stopping muscles that stop and start the flow of urine. And men can do them too. So when you do that, it's almost like you're pumping your sexual organs. You're pumping them and you're waking them up. So I'll breathe, maybe I'll take 5 deep breaths in, and then I'll do a Kegel. And then I release on the way out.
I'm doing them right now.
Yeah, and do a Kegel. Well, when you do that, you're like, hello, I'm here, I'm connecting, I'm awakening. Because throughout the day, like, let me tell you this, Lisa, we talk about the top questions I get asked is, how do I get turned on for sex? Why aren't I in the mood anymore? Well, a lot of us walk around and all day long we are disconnected from our bodies. Maybe we're not even liking our bodies. We're actually we're hating our bodies. And I hear this from women a lot, more than men too, that we just are having like not body love at all, like body hate. I can't believe I gained weight. I didn't work out. Why did I eat this? Why did I do that? I don't like the shape of my butt. I don't like the shape of my hand, whatever it is. And then we think that we should get into the bedroom and feel turned on and ready to go. If you are abusing yourself throughout the day verbally, it is not going to happen that way. So we have to do practices too, and I've got a lot of that in the book too, and this is one of the pillars, is learning to feel more safe, secure, and confident in our body. And I'm not even talking about body love, because that could be a big stretch for some people. It could just be being neutral. It could be body neutrality. Today, I'm not going to hate my body. Today, I'm going to be neutral on it. I'm going to find a few things that I love about my body. I love that my legs can walk me up the stairs. I love that my legs can get me, across town, or that my hands can, draw, because I love to draw. Like, we all have things that we can find that we love about our body. And as cheesy as that might sound to people, like, oh yeah, you want me to yeah, it actually works. Like, I'm telling you, this stuff works. We have to find what we love and what's working for us, because otherwise it is just, we're going to be robbing ourselves of pleasure, which is such a cornerstone of our joy.
Yeah, you were the one that actually introduced me to the neutrality thing, because before I didn't even realize how much I was just insulting myself. So it wasn't even like talk nicely to yourself. It's like, no, just identify when you're talking badly about yourself. And I think you were like saying, just walk past the mirror and see how often you give yourself a negative comment. I was like, oh my God, all the time. It was like this automatic response.
Yeah.
And I didn't even realize I was doing it until you pointed it out. So my first step was just stop being mean to yourself, right?
Yes.
And then it was like, okay, that's a good step in the right direction.
Yes.
And going back to what you were saying about, like, especially us women now who are working more, building our own businesses, becoming freaking badasses, wanting to be our own bosses, there is that complex juxtaposition between being a badass, being super strong, being in your masculine when you're at work, and then going home and then being in your feminine. And being able to be honest with that, because I think a lot of people think, oh, well, if you're like this, then you're always going to be like this. So actually, I'd love to ask you, when you're in your masculine, you met somebody new, do you talk about wanting to be in your feminine? Because I'm going to make an assumption. Some people may project and see you as a badass and go, oh, well, she wants to be dominant in the bedroom too. So as women now who may be listening, who are freaking badasses, how do they communicate with their partner that actually they want to be in the feminine? And then I loved how you just broke down how you go into your feminine.
Yeah, I think that these women have to cultivate their feminine. I think I'm hearing this from a lot of women too. They're like they go on dates, they can't find a guy, guys aren't attracted, or they're not making the move or whatever, or they're not feeling sexual or attracted to anyone. If you know that you are a woman who in the bedroom, you want to go into your feminine, you want to be more submissive, you have to bring that submissive person to your date. To the person, they have to show up. And I know it doesn't feel safe if we've been told that we gotta kick ass and we gotta be productive, we gotta check things off our list. We really are living in a man's world. It is a masculine world. Everything is set up that way. We have to achieve, we have to go, we have to check things off the list. And so when we're going out with somebody, or when we're like learning someone new, we have to learn to cultivate. And the best way I can do that, and again, I might lose you all with this, it might sound very, very woo to people, but I am telling you, it is energy. And so when I have found that I am not like that, I really take a few minutes and I breathe, and I even start to do things where I start to like move my pelvic floor. Like, this is the circulation. You start to move, like you could be in a bar, you could be at a dinner, you could be somewhere. And when you start to connect your breath and your body to your pelvic floor, even if it's just like moving in a counter circle motion, then moving it back the other way, you are starting to, and there's been studies and there've been exercises that show that energy is going to be emanated, and your partner or somebody that masculine is going to be able to pick up on that energy and respond to that and feel that. And that's how you start to cultivate. And you can do this on your own. I did some pole dancing too. Shout out to my girl, Sheila Kelly. She's been doing it for almost 20 years. She has a thing called S-curve. And this pole dancing is not about like looking sexy for anybody else. It's about moving to the natural S-curve of your body and learning to move in a way that is supportive of the feminine, of your pelvic floor, of your ass, of your breasts, and just learning to, and like letting go of tension, like learning to dance. Like dancing is a very feminine, place to be. So even if you just dance around your room naked, you don't have to go take a class like that. But for me, learning that I haven't danced in a while, I haven't let go, I haven't listened to music, that is the feminine, that is the creativity. So before you go on a date, it doesn't mean weak. Feminine is not weak. Feminine is your birthright. Feminine is who you are. Like, I think that when we show up in our masculine, it's really hard for those masculine men to see how you need them. And you might just need them to hold space for you, to make you feel like a woman, and then that's going to help fuel your sexual desire and energy. But the physical, the exercises around that is breathing, it's dance, it's creative energy, it's writing, it's connecting with other women, it's being in nature. It's all of those things that you hear about, but those are the things that are attached to the feminine. And this is like the beginning of time. I'm not making up any of this stuff. This is the stuff that's going to fuel you. If you haven't had your feet on the ground, if you haven't walked barefoot in nature, there's a lot of people that go outside every morning and walk on the earth, feel more grounded with the earth. These are the ways that you're going to feel more in touch with your feminine. And so I think that your partner will sense that. I mean, I think that with my partner too, and we'll say to each other, we haven't had sex in a while, like, what's going on? Like, how can we make this happen? And I know, like, we need to, like, switch things up or get out of the house. Or I'm like, well, let me just go for a workout. Let me work out. Let me get outside. Let me walk around the block. Let me do these things so I can come back and be present. And then the masculine and the feminine, it's like yin yang. They read all our energy, so it's their energy. So it's so hard to, sometimes it can be hard to explain, but like the masculine will feed off the feminine. So if I'm bringing the energy, the masculine takes that energy and they start to feel that in their body, and it's a, circular exchange.
If you want to learn the #1 way to build desire, attraction, and have amazing orgasms every time, keep watching.
Here I am, the sexologist, and my partner would just roll over and not be interested. And then I'd roll over the other side and cry. One of my main questions I ask myself is, what is erotically possible? I started noticing these patterns show up.